This is a REST API that converts one currency to another. Enter the amount, the from currency, and the to currency, and it will convert the amount to the to currency for you using a real-time exchange rate. I built this using Excel and AlchemyJ. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to build this from scratch so that you'll be able to do the same. Sounds interesting? Stay tuned. Hi everyone, this is Benson. This video is divided into two parts. In the first part, I'll create a currency converter in Excel. In the second part, I'll turn what we have built into a REST API. To do that, we'll need AlchemyJ. It is a tool that can turn an Excel workbook into an API that other systems can call. You can download AlchemyJ Community Edition for free at alchemyj.io. If you haven't done so, please head over to our website, download it, and set it up first. Let's start this with an AlchemyJ model so we can generate the API in part 2 easily. To do that, go to the AlchemyJ tab on the ribbon and click New Model. Since I want to create a REST API, I'll choose the REST API sample model. I want to build the currency converter on a new worksheet, so we insert a blank worksheet and rename it to currency converter. Now, let's think about what data a currency converter should have. We should have the amount and then the currency of that amount. I call it from currency, and then the currency we want to convert it to. We'll also need the conversion rate or the exchange rate of the currency pair. With that, we can get the converted amount, which is the result to be returned. For example, say the amount is 2,000 US dollars and we want to convert it to British pound. By the way, GBP is the currency code of the British pound. I'll add some cell borders to make them look better. Here we go. And bold the header. Alright. We need a way to get a real-time exchange rate. There are many exchange rate APIs out there, but most of them require you to sign up. The European Central Bank, however, provides a free REST API which we can use without signing up. It is also very easy to use. We'll use the latest resource and specify the base currency and the symbols we need. Here's an example of the call. The response is a JSON string that contains the rate we need. To call this REST API, I will use the AJ Web Service REST extended function. The first parameter is the URL we want to call. I just paste the URL here for now. This API uses the GET operation, so I enter 1 in the HTTP method. By default, this function only runs when we run a function point in AlchemyJ Studio. But I want to show you the result immediately, so I set the run by function point only parameter to false, so that it will call the URL whenever Excel calculates the cell. Oh, I set the calculation mode to manual, so I need to press F9 to calculate the workbook. Great, it returns the data we need. Next, we need to modify this URL so that it gets the base currency from B3, which is our from currency field. And for symbols, we only need one symbol here, which is in cell C3. Okay, we need D3 to contain the rate. We can use AJ JSON path to extract the rate from the JSON string. The first parameter is the JSON data, so we just point it to B5. The second parameter is the JSON path we use to get the rate. We start from the root, so we enter $ dot, and then the rate node dot, and then the to currency code, which is in C3. You can see that it extracts the rate of 0.7552 correctly. Great. Okay, what's left is simple. We just need to multiply the amount by the conversion rate, and we have the converted amount. Let's try some other currencies and see if it works. Brilliant. What we've got so far is that we created a model that takes the amount from currency to currency, and then we get the real-time exchange rate using AJ Web Service REST, extract the rate from the returned JSON, and then multiply the amount by the rate to get the converted amount. We have finished part 1. I shall save the file before moving on to part 2. In part 2, we will turn this currency converter in Excel to a REST API. To do that, we need to define the input parameters and the response of the API. We do that on the REST endpoint group worksheet. Let's change the endpoint group path to currency converter. This API only provides one function. I'll call it convert. Name the path of this function to conversion. Actually, you can use any name you want. Under operation, I select get. Since this function gets the conversion result, I want to define the input parameters first, so we'll leave the response data address for later. We can define the input parameters in the input parameters table. I named our function convert, so change function point1 to convert here. The first parameter should be the amount, and it should be a double, which supports decimal numbers. In data address, we use AJ address to define the cell address that the input value should be filled into. I map it to the currency converter worksheet cell A3. We follow the same step to define the other input parameters. We have from currency and to currency. They should be strings. Again, I use AJ address to map this input field to the corresponding cell on the currency converter worksheet. Now let's define the response of this function. In response data address, we will define the range of a data relationship schema table, which is a table we use in AlchemyJ to define a data structure. We can add a data relationship schema table by going to Insert Snippet, click Data Relationship Schema Single Table or Data Relationship Schema. Either one will do. In this case, I just picked the simpler one. Give the table we want to return a name. Next, we use AJ address to identify the range of data we want it to return. I also set the range of a data dictionary of this table, since I want to define the data type of each field in this table. Now that we have defined the data relationship schema for the data we want to return, we can point the response data address of our function point to it. I mentioned that I want to define the data type of each of the returned fields using a data dictionary. Now is a good time to do it. When AlchemyJ returns data range A2 to E2, it refers to the data dictionary we defined here for the data type of each field. In the data dictionary, define all fields we have and then set their data types. Amount should be double, from currency and to currency should be strings, conversion rate and converted amount should be doubles. The last thing we need to set is to tell AlchemyJ that which worksheets does our convert function use. We can define it in the related worksheet table here, but instead of typing it out manually, we can use a tool to set it up. Go to More Tools, and then configure function point related worksheets. Select the convert function point, click Get Worksheets to show a list of available worksheets. The convert function point uses currency converter worksheet and the data dictionary worksheet. Click Apply Changes to confirm. We're ready to generate the API, but before doing so, I would like to preview the API just to make sure everything is correct. To make the preview function shows the response dialog, go to Settings. On the Run tab, check Show Function Point Response dialog. Now we can click Preview Function Point, select Convert. It shows us the response JSON this function will return. It looks perfect to me. One more thing I want to fine-tune is to rename the API. We do that on the REST API worksheet. Set the API name to currency converter and set the package name to currency converter. I also want to set up the OpenAPI title and description. We can do that in OpenAPI specification settings. Just give them a better name. I think we are all set. To generate the API, click Generate API. Click OK to save the workbook, and AlchemyJ will start generating the API. When this Spring prompt appears and you see the application started message, it means the API has been generated and it is running. We can test it immediately by launching the OpenAPI website. We have this convert function point here. Click Try it out, fill in the input parameters and click Execute to test it. Here is the converted amount. Let's try it with another currency. It works. Since this is a GET operation, another way to test it is to open this URL directly in a browser. Again, change the currency pair and check if it really works. Fantastic. There you have it. If you want to learn how to use AlchemyJ, I really encourage you to try building this model by yourself. If you stumble upon a problem, don't hesitate to pose a question in our forum. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Take care and I'll see you again soon.